What in the hell?
I have noticed people on the left and right have, like I said, they kind of talk past each other, and there seems to be a point of contention there.
That is not James that I hear.
Because somebody says, "Oh, you're."
Okay, I got them all shut off now. Holy shit! I opened a bunch of tabs. Every goddamn one of them started playing at once.
Wow!
And I had no idea why. That was confusing. Hi, boys and girls.
Not the best intro that we've done. Not the worst.
Not
the worst.
Okay, we got Melody Joy. We have Icarus. We have Spooky Bed Hair. Oh no, Spooky! Fuck you.
Do we want to get Gura in here to comment on his stream last night?
Yeah, we want to get Gura in here. Go invite that son of a bitch. Like,
I'll just put out the link, I guess, or do you
believe how unwoke Gur is? No, don't put out the link. Just
okay. I'll see if I have an email on him.
I do.
I'll go ahead and send it to him then.
Okay then.
Sorry, there's somebody. Oh, now I can't find.
Can't find the mute. We're just really swinging and missing. It's just fun. Fucking dogs and fucking multiple videos playing, and now Domino's Pizza is sending me emails. Why, Domino's? Why? Let me send something to Gur. Gur. Oh. Send me a link, Gur. Anyway, let's see. First of all, I wanted to, one day I did a thing that was fairly positive about psilocybin. And then I realized that, there's a lot of people that may not be in particularly mentally ready to handle that shit. And I did a real negative stream on it yesterday. And I thought that was balanced and very necessary to caution people. But what the caution was about was taking 4 grams of dried psilocybin, or 3 grams, 3 grams and above, which is considered a pretty high psychedelic dose. And what I hadn't talked about is microdosing psilocybin. Now, if you have PTSD, depression, trouble sleeping, if you're just wandering around in your life, if you're having trouble sticking to a routine, I would recommend microdosing psilocybin, which is about 0.2 grams dried, up to about 0.5 at the most. And at 0.2 grams, you do not feel any psychedelic symptoms at all, other than maybe your monitor will get just a little brighter, the world will seem a little more in focus and colors more lurid. But I think that microdosing psilocybin is, to me, I've taken all kinds of antidepressants, and you wait around for 2 weeks, and then you start to feel kind of yucky in your head and anxious, and but the depression definitely does get a little better sometimes. But you can barely tell because it took 2 weeks for the SSRI to come on. Psilocybin for me has worked instantly. It has instantly rocketed me out of my rut, and I really think people should check into microdosing. But as far as the heavy dose, leave that to the professional boomer hippies. Unless you wanna be brave and go that way. But you always start out with that microdose because you need to know how this stuff's going to affect you physiologically. You are taking a drug that's going to fuck with the way you think. The basic
right
of your brain.
So today I'm microdosing on love from our community, and it does fuck with my brain sometimes, but I enjoy it. So I'd like to give a shout out to my dealers: Germania, Melody Joy, Woolly Ignorant, Spooky Bed Hair, Nerdy Rodent,
Nerdy's here.
Who else we got here? Yeah, Nerdy's here, right? Icarus or Icarus? I have no idea.
Icarus.
Did Icarus show up?
that's
Where's he at?
He's here. He says cancel Gerda.
Yeah, there's somewhere.
Oh,
Cancel
is that
Gerda.
Icarus? I thought that was somebody else.
Yeah.
I thought that was Spooky.
Yeah, then, okay, the stream is named, my son thought of the stream name, On Potato, because we were having a discussion while he was cooking me omelets this morning about this new video that I found on dendrites and neurons. It was about AI and how we base AI in a pretty simple model of the neuron, and now we found out that neurons are capable of more calculations than we thought. They're not just summing devices that are actually, they integrate, and they integrate over time, and they do all sorts of stuff. And we were talking about how you focus on something, and I was telling him about the thalamus, which I touched on yesterday, I think, or the day before, about how when there's different things like, okay, there's consciousness, right, which is just the whole fucking grab bag of shit that's going on in your mind all the time, every day, right, constantly while you're alive. And then there's awareness, which is when you become aware of something specific. And that's when your thalamus starts to operate and starts to change and draw circles around what you're focusing on, what you're aware of, right? And he was wondering, you know, when you think of potato, well, if that neuron fires, then doesn't, like when neurons fire once, they have to wait a little, like 200 milliseconds or so before they fire again. Some of them, I think it might be longer. And he was wondering about that. And your thalamus kind of like has this feedback circuit where it keeps firing that same neuron over and over again. And they're probably, well, they found the Jennifer Aniston neuron. Did you hear about that? They found one fucking neuron that always lit up anytime Jennifer Aniston's face was in front of this subject, right? So they found the Jennifer Aniston neuron. But there is no, typically, you know, there's never just one neuron for one thing. But there may be one.
Name that one the Hubba Hubba neuron.
Hubba Hubba, yeah. But there, you know, there could be one neuron that always fires when you're thinking of a certain thing. But anyway, there's just all of these clouds of firing that go around in your brain. And when you think about potato, you might think of KFC and gravy next, and your mind might wander. And then you can kind of make an you have another device that's very much involved with the thalamus. It's a whole circuit in what's called the basal ganglia that does action selection, so that you can select one of these things. Now you move your attention to that. You start thinking, oh, I love that fucking KFC mashed potatoes and gravy. And, you know, you move around. But I mean, they've been able to map all these things and how they move around in your mind. So it's really interesting. So that's what On Potato is about. And it's based on Colbert's brilliant fucking Russian takedown, Is Potato. Are you familiar with that, James? Is Potato?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Is Potato.
And he's raised almost $400,000 for to feed the Ukrainians, selling Is Potato T-shirts and cups and all that stuff. So he's having a lot of fun with it. Plus, he's poking fun at the Russians, which is always fun. So anyway, okay, move on to wokeism. Germania isn't in the room.
Ger's here, isn't he?
But he's not. I sent him a link by email.
He's in the side chat, but
he's
not click on the link.
Yeah,
gotcha. Well, yeah.
Oh my God, you had a good chat with Bread of Life. Well, I've been having a really bad chat with Bread of Life, and I'm really kind of pissed off.
Was it really a good chat, or do you mean a lengthy chat?
Yeah.
Answer me that.
Yeah, did you have an actual chat where you reasoned to a conclusion? Did you try to have one of those with her? Because those apparently don't work. She thinks reasoning is picking on her. So,
right, reasoning is abuse.
Yeah, it's abuse.
Her church subject her to that abuse.
When he gets the will to okay, so we could talk about that. So you're on the couch and you need the will, right? So you're looking for a little hit from your limbic system to kind of get you going. Gurr is such a fucking loser. He's such a couch potato. He can't possibly get off the couch. He's too fat. He's just too big. He's too old. His joints are aching and he can't get off the couch. I understand, Gurr.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, the next time you reach a viewership goal or a membership goal, Gromania, you need to sniff some coffee grounds on camera.
Yeah. There you go. So last night on Gurr Streams, they had a conversation about woke, and I listened until. So I don't think they let Alpha complete a thought. They kept jumping on him. And I don't know if they ever let him complete a thought, but he was trying to describe what conservatives mean by woke, right? And do you know what I got out of what he said? What I got out of it is he thought that movies that don't properly color in or elaborate a character, that's being woke, basically, which is just bad Hollywood writing, right? But he was specifically talking about when they introduce a lesbian couple or some other LGBTQ couple or group, and they don't elaborate or color their relationship and their character fully enough for him. So he calls that woke. Well, why wouldn't that same thing apply? And I think Leo asked him this. Why wouldn't that same thing apply to just any like a male-female couple that they don't color in their whole relationship? And then he changed it to kind of be like if they have a woman in the plot and the woman is powerful and she's just perfect and she has no flaws. Well, what the fuck is Superman? I mean, come on, guys. But that's not woke. So Superman is like perfect and he's got like impeccable morality, right? And he has superpowers. And I've never seen there aren't too many movies that really get into Superman having doubt or emotional problems, even though they try. So why isn't that called woke? So I never got down to what he meant by woke.
Who meant by woke? By what Alpha Centurion meant by woke?
Yeah, Alpha. Yeah, and he was trying to explain it, but they wouldn't let him talk long enough that I could actually get a handle on whether or not he had any more background to it. Does anybody have that guy's email? I'd love to talk to him.
Well, I would say that Superman can't be woke because he's essentially represents the patriarchy as well as he represents the patriarchy.
But depicting Superman as a perfect human being or a perfect alien, whatever, and why isn't that woke? So I think what it amounts to, and I think Leo or somebody else on the panel suggested that you're just offended when you see a gay couple on a TV show, and what they're doing, even if they do it on purpose, if they throw it in on purpose, what they're trying to do is show some diversity and tell you what the real world looks like, because the real world is diverse.
Yeah, there's certain reality that society will pressure us not to see and discourage us from learning and knowing about, because it's shameful in their eyes.
Right.
And when I say they, I have to put quotes around it because they is a real squishy concept, a real squishy entity. But right now the they includes the conservatives, the Republicans, the fascists trying to eliminate certain information from schools so that kids don't learn about injustice, racial injustice in American history.
Yeah.
And so basically woke is quote unquote awakening to those realities, that there are people and there are histories in our midst that have been suppressed.
Yeah, and so the question is, why are they trying to make it a derogatory term? It
would have been. Go ahead.
No.
So it would have been like at the beginning of the Enlightenment, the secular Enlightenment, right? It would have been the same kind of thing. Back then, conservatives would have used the word enlightened with the same kind of derogatory attitude, right? So it's the same exact thing, except it's the new term is woke instead of enlightened. It's just the next step in the Enlightenment. But they have this idea, or this set of ideas, that society really needs to function one certain way, and that humanity made a certain amount of progress toward establishing the way society's meant to be, where men are in charge and the superior race and women over place and all this other stuff. And so when people who are matured beyond that talk about being woke, they're talking about realizing that those are old archaic ways of reasoning that are ignorant and destructive. But from the conservative point of view, those are the ways that we're supposed to be. And so when a leftist wokist person talks about changes in society, what they think is we're proposing that we unravel the foundations of society, that we convert to a society where anything goes. You can make up reality at whim just to humor any indulgence or craziness that you may have, and that as long as you feel good about it, that's progress, and that society should switch to that. And their concern, their fear, because fear of change is part of conservatism psychologically, it's a defining trait. Their fear is that, okay, if we indulge this, then it's going to be so alluring to the next generation, this whole anything goes kind of idea, that we're going to end up with a society where there's no clear boundaries, there's no clear roles about who's who in society, and so nobody's going to want to get married, and people are either going to not have kids when that's going to hurt our population, which is going to weaken the country because we'll end up with not enough people, or we'll have a whole bunch of children born out of wedlock because nobody wants to get married because anything goes, or you'll have women in charge, and then they're going to go through menopausal stuff and like be all crazy. So they get all these different ideas about how society is going to unravel the family, and in the process, they're going to lose their power and their privilege and their structure and the things that they think work best, right? And so they see it as a threat. So when we say woke, we're talking about a next stage of the Enlightenment. When they hear that, they think it means the opposite, right? Does that make sense?
What are you doing?
Yeah, it seemed like Alpha was trying to say that it's woke if they could gratuitously throw in a lesbian couple when a hetero couple would have done just as well into a series, right? And they're doing that now because now they don't make a big thing of it anymore, right? It's just representation of a diverse population, right? But
Right.
what would he call gratuitously showing bare breasts or showing bare breasts or a sex scene in movies, which has been going on in Hollywood forever, right? Is that woke?
Right.
Because
So,
they're
yeah,
doing
anything-
the same
Good.
thing. Aren't they doing the same thing? Basically, they're trying to get people to watch the goddamn movie, and they're trying to get a certain rating. They're trying to draw in a certain crowd. They're trying to hit a certain market population. That's why they do the things they do in movies. And now they're doing things that the conservatives are just having a fucking shit fit over. And the fact that they're having a shit fit is exactly why they should wake the fuck up.
Right. Well, they don't think there's anything to wake up from. That's the problem.
No, they don't. Like they're already woke. Like he says, "Oh, I have gay friends," and then somebody came in. Yeah, Bree said, "Yeah, I have one black friend, Leo." It's like, yeah, I have a black friend, so I can't be racist, right? It's like I have gay friends, and oh god. And so Alpha, Norman. I mean, he's a pretty reasonable dude. And I like the guy, and he's a different kind of Christian, and I appreciate that.
Sure.
But last night he was fucking batting zero. Holy shit. I wish I had his email address. I do not. If somebody can contact Alpha, tell him we're talking about him.
Fair. Yeah, because I can't speak for him. I just know what I usually hear from conservatives that use the term in a derogatory way. Like this is their narrative about humanity progressed into realizing that biologically and morally there's supposed to be a certain order of things where the white man's on top and the woman's the woman supports them and makes the sandwiches and pops out babies like vending machines, and everybody knows their place in society. It's the Archie Bunker theme song, right? This is
Yeah.
what they think is the pinnacle of society. And so when people are like, no, we can do better than that, conservatives are like, what do you mean better? That's the ultimate. We finally attained enlightenment, and you guys are trying to like destroy society. That's what they think.
Yep. Anyway, how about them creationists?
Say what?
How about them creationists?
They'd be a mess.
They'd be a mess. Yeah, and creationism. Why does all of this shit run in the same pea pod? The same package. Creationism, anti-wokeism, fucking all this shit, all in the same package. I think Christianity is what gathers it together. In this nasty little fundamental Christianity, fundamentalist gathers it all together in this nasty package. Anti-vax.
That's because the evangelical conservative belief system is a freeze drying of essentially 19th century norms and values. And one of the values of the 19th century in America was, and everywhere else too, was keeping the races in their places. And so it's just carried forward in the people and in some of the teachings from the Bible, like the one where was it either Shem, Ham, or Japheth, or Canaan, or whomever, was black, and all their or Ham. I mean, Ham is the person, and all their descendants are destined to serve all the the white people, which was one of their teachings. So we have an address on Alpha Centurion in the side chat. Speed, if you want to get that and send a
we do
invitation.
Let me copy that. So apparently somebody made a racist comment and Derry Penna is talking about it on your streams, but Cerberus got booted. Cerberus does get booted occasionally. Sometimes you got to boot Cerberus.
He digs on certain issues and gets himself booted.
Oh my God!
I mean, I've never had him on my channel, so I don't know. I'll take your word for it.
Now I'm losing control here. Captive Death, check out my video on what is yak. Just popped up, and I'm gonna.
Greetings.
Oh yeah,
Welcome.
Of course it's gonna start right up. You son of a bitch! I hate YouTube. I fucking.
Isn't that a setting? Can't you
Well, you can
turn
unmute. I mean, I can mute the whole site, and that's what I'm gonna do. But then I'm gonna have to remember to unmute it if I play a video. But okay, so. Okay, where was I? I was sending send Alpha Centurion email. And God, if he does come in, please, nobody overtalk him. God, he got overtalked a lot last night.
Well, I will shut my little mouth and not say anything so that you two can converse.
Oh well, I don't know about that, but
yeah, as soon as he gets in.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, I'm probably too tired today to make the complicated points that I want to make, but I don't think the problem is theism, and I don't think the core problem is even Christianity. I think the core problem is conservatism.
Humanity?
Because it's like if you look at Stoicism through like a left leaning mind, it's actually a pretty great set of ideas, right? And if you look at it through if you marry it to conservatism, it becomes this really, really toxic, awful, victim-blaming, nonsensical, like awful thing. And the same thing seems to happen with Christianity. If you see Christianity, if you interpret Christianity through this like where it's all just metaphor for the human experience and just basic ideas of wanting to like find motivation to like be loving to other people, then that's fine. But then when they marry it to conservatism, it becomes very literal. It becomes very black and white, and fear sets in, and very tribal. And so I just think that underneath that all is the conservative mind is the problem. I don't think that theism is the problem.
Yeah. Well, the conservative, God, I hate when people call it conservative. Call it far right. Conservative means something entirely different to me. I consider myself a conservative.
Fair. Sure, we can say far. Well, I would like to hear your thoughts on that. What is conservative to you? And differentiate it from far right.
To me, it means that the government should not have anything to say about my morality, what I do in my house or my bedroom or anything. That the government has no control unless I'm harming somebody, right? About what
Yeah.
me and anybody else does in my house. The threshold of my house is something that they can't no knock into, that they should never cross that threshold unless they have a judge telling them that there's absolutely something really bad going on here and they've got to come in, right? Absolutely have
Right.
to. And not fucking anything to do with the war on drugs. I mean, somebody has to be getting murdered before they should cross my door. And that's part of
Right.
it. And the other part is that the government should be as small as possible. It should have a large military and should be in control of that. They should have just limits on it. They should never have anything to do with morality, marriage, abortion, any of that shit. That's conservative, right? Those are conservative principles that our Constitution is based in. That we have this freedom to be who we are, religion, morals, whatever. That, you know, and now somehow conservative means break your fucking door down, find out what you got in, what kind of sex toys you got in your drawer, and who you're having sex with, and break into your fucking wife's womb and direct what's going to happen there. And there's just, it's just gone crazy. It's not what it used to be.
Well, what you're describing is fascism right now.
Well, Republicans used to be small government, powerful military, lower taxes, stay away from man's, do not tread on man's rights.
You can't marry a black person.
No.
A woman can't bank. This was stuff that was true up through into the 70s.
Yeah, but those weren't conservatives. Those were fucking racist, bigoted pricks. They weren't one and the same before. What I'm saying is that the racist, bigoted pricks somehow
but they sure had lunch together a lot.
They took over the word conservative.
Well, maybe we just need. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's the why people aren't having more productive conversations. Is that we're talking past each other because these key words mean something different to each participant in the conversation.
Well, I think Nixon is what turned the Republican Party upside down and inside out. And it used to be a different kind of party back then. And Democrats and Republicans were almost the same kind of thing. They just had some policies that they differed on, and they just didn't seem to have that all fundamentally not that different. They had arguments over how much we should tax and how much of that tax money we should give away. And I think that was about it. But conservative in my day, when I was a teenager and a young adult, was entirely different than how we view it now. No, it's synonymous with douchebag. And if you say you're conservative, you're a fucking douchebag. Anyway, and I don't think I am. So anyway, that's my view on it. Stay out of our homes, stay out of our morals. You have nothing to say about that. Fuck you, family values. Have your own family values.
Yeah. I understand.
Okay.
I will keep that in mind moving forward. I will try not to use that word anymore, but now I don't know what word to use.
Right-wing douchebag.
Yeah, referring to today's Republican Party, you would be very accurate in just saying fascist. I mean, it's not that nuanced.
Sure.
I mean, really, they are fascist. They do everything that who was the Italian Mussolini did. They do everything that other guy did. I don't want to start. What's that rule about Nazis? I don't want to start that. But then who was the Spanish fascist? There was a Spanish fascist for a while in the 20th century. And they just do the thing. They target groups like homosexuals, trans people, and they persecute them. They've rail with these speeches about them and get their people angry enough to attack them and become, aggressive towards them. And then they essentially make their leader the leader in chief and let him, get away with what he wants.
Yeah.
And if it works, then they justify, his fascist position by saying, well, at least the trains are running on time and that kind of thing. So, it's what we have today is just fascism.
Yeah.
Or what's working. We are not a fascist quite yet because we have we have Biden in the White House, but it was getting more fascist when Trump was president, and if he becomes president again, or if DeSantis becomes president, it's gonna start heading towards fascism unless people stand up to stop it.
Sure. So, to be fair, and I'm probably too tired to go down this rabbit hole, I'm going to get myself in trouble, but I'm going to say it anyways. Somebody proposed to me once that the political left-right spectrum isn't a line, it is a sphere. And if you go too far in either direction, you end up in the same place. And I've seen that happen with people who embrace what is typically associated with leftist values, where they try to prevent, for example, guest speakers from speaking at universities because they disagree with what they have to say about it, or they do this whole cancel culture thing, where if you don't stay exactly on script, they just completely want to dismiss you and destroy you, and
and we saw this. We've seen it work itself out, with the cancel culture, craze, where people would cancel certain professors and get them kicked out of their positions and stuff for things, or cancel their speeches. But that's even, there was an author who worked at I think the Houston Chronicle, something like that, wrote a really interesting book called Forget the Alamo that just kind of exposed the legends and the quote unquote lessons that we get out of the Alamo as just lies and propaganda. And the governor and the lieutenant governor and whoever's third in command here in Texas would not let him speak at any state-run venues, because like universities, libraries, that kind of thing, because he was going against the mythology of the day. In other words, there's this First Amendment and there's this thing about academic openness and freedom, but no, you're not going to change history about the Alamo. So I do see what you're saying there, James, and acting in our society in the modern times for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this they've gone way too far in some of their endeavors, and they've ended up being almost fascist in their cutting. Like basically, you can't say certain things, you can't have certain conversations, you got to fucking pussyfoot around a topic. That's just as goddamn bad as the far right. It's
right. And so Kidology had another show today about how the left needs to do. And if somebody wants to follow up on those kinds of ideas, I recommend that video. She's pretty brilliant for most of her topics are boring to me, but she makes some pretty great points. So I still make myself watch the videos. But when the folk thing happened, right? FALK, that douchebag, we all know about that, right? With Dr. Francesca Stavrakopoulos.
Oh, David Falk and the cup size thing. Yeah.
So the immediate response was, let's get him canceled, right? And I'm like, okay, we probably have to, but let's not jump to that. And what I would have, the solution to that is a series of steps that nobody else was even talking about taking. And I'm like, somebody could argue that maybe my series of steps idea is not ideal, but why aren't we at least having those kinds of conversations? And I just couldn't figure that part out, because there was an opportunity there to educate folk, right? To give them an opportunity to say, you know what, there's two paths here. We can just remove you from, our part of academia and don't even expect a good reference on your way out, right? we could just do that, right? And just slam you, destroy you. And I think that we would have to regardless. I don't think he'd cooperate with the other plan, but I wanted to offer it to him. I just wasn't. I'm not a person who gets to offer anything. I'm not in that. I'm not in the mix. I'm just some random guy with an opinion. But what I wanted to see happen is let's make him an offer, right? Let's tell him, look, what you said isn't okay. Your attitude is atrocious. You've got a lot of learning and growing to do, and we cannot have this crap in academia, or even modern civilization. Here's what we'll offer: if you take some classes under Francesca Stavropoulou and you pass those classes to her satisfaction, and then you take some comparable classes, right? And then you take some gender studies classes that she also chooses for you, and you pass those, right? And just like make this plan of learning and growth that he can voluntarily go through, but we can let him know at the same time, look, if you agree to this, but then you talk shit about it, right? Like you rant in a blog or to anybody, and it gets back to us that you're only doing this to keep your job and you hate it and you think we're stupid or whatever, then the deal's off, right? The deal's off, it's canceled. And you're going to have to do this, and you're going to have to adjust your attitude, mister. Just your attitude, right? And then make him learn under Dr. Francesca Stavropoulou. Make him learn under some other people in her field as well that are actually guys, right? To see that she's not fringe, right? That she's not some radical crazy person out there that doesn't know what she's doing. Make him learn about what she's had to go through, right? Like make him study her biography and memorize it by heart. Make him take some gender studies classes and like have meaningful discussions. Let's see if we can get him to grow as a person. If he says hell no, then cancel his ass, right? But give him the opportunity. That's what I would have done, just personally. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, public apology too, for
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
Because people can misspeak when they get passionate, and I think, but some of the shit he said was pretty bad.
That was way over the top. That wasn't him just not being careful. That was him harboring some deep jealousy and resentment and sexism, and it was deep-seated crap, right? That's not just having a bad day or
that indicated that he had a problem that somebody should have sat him down and worked with him on it, rather than. But
right,
I don't know.
That's just me. I think he would have turned down the offer, but I think we should have made him the offer.
Yeah. My fucking Apple Pencil won't pair with my iPad. What am I gonna do? How do you turn on?
It's about over for you.
Okay, how do you turn on your Apple Pencil? There's no switch to turn it on that I know of.
I don't have an Apple Pencil.
Ooh, it's got a little tiny dot on it. I wonder if that's like a reset. What is that? No, that's dirt.
I won't tell you the convoluted thought process that brought me to this, but today I finally watched Top Gun Maverick, and I really wish I could get the 2 hours back out of my life.
Really?
Yeah.
They did not even try. It was so. The acting in it was just so wooden and flat, and there's a lot of, I don't know, it just felt a lot like propaganda than anything. I mean, the cinematography was pretty good, and things like that. But man, it was just the characters just weren't developed very well, and it was just such a wooden.
Yeah.
Really bad.
movie.
Well. Noted. I shall not watch it then.
I'm starting the
second. Oh, go ahead.
War of the Worlds, Scott. So.
Yeah, War of the Worlds. There's I think the first season was 2019. They did a series loosely based on the War of the Worlds. They definitely reimagined the story quite a bit. But that first season, I just finished watching, it was just excellent for one of those end of the world, post-apocalyptic kind of movies. And
killing children. God damn it.
Yeah, well, they do let children be killed. Yeah.
a lot.
But in an apocalypse, that's what would happen. You just most
Yeah,
apocalyptic
I know, but
movies don't show that. They
just
just kind of
seemed like-
suggest it.
it seemed like the director was pushing back on the laws that they could only have kids work for 4 hours a day, and he killed too many kids.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
yeah, I know the aliens would kill the kids just like anybody
Mhm.
else.
Mhm.
I appreciate the reality and all that stuff, and I love when the first scene in a movie where they kill a puppy. Because if you see a movie where they kill a puppy in the opening scene, you know that the no holds barred, right?
Yeah, that's kind of foreshadowing.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I recommend it. Second season I kind of stalled out on because I just watched too much of it all at once.
Yep.
Overnight.
Fair.
Yeah, that's what. Anyway, you were going to say something, James, before we went off on a fucking tangent, like left field tangent.
I told you I'm not going to tell you the thought process that got me there, but yeah, back to you, James.
Yeah, I understand your thought process is potato.
But yeah, that's right. It bounced off a potato and that's where it
Is
went.
potato. Yeah. So I was going to say another example, like with the statues of Confederate so-called war heroes, right? And the far right wanted to keep the statues up, and then the left people wanted to tear the statues down, and I thought that was weird that those were our only options, because I thought we should make a special park, move the statues to that park, and just call it the Park of Shame or the Walk of Shame.
Yeah,
And then just and have plaques up. So we're still keeping that part of our history. These things really happened. These people really made a difference. Good, better for better or worse, right? Here's what they did. Here's what we learned from what they did. Here's what the reasonings were. Here's what the effect was. Here's what we could learn from that, right? And then, put them on blast. They've been dead for hundreds of years. Oh, well, they fucked up. Put them on blast, right? Don't tear the statues down. Don't get rid of the history. Let's just keep the history and talk about it in an honest way. And it was weird to me that neither side wanted to have that conversation. It was all leave it completely alone or destroy the statues. There was no middle ground talk. And that's just a good representative of the problem I usually see in politics and social discourse.
Well, and that's true. One of the real weaknesses of our society is that there's no real governance in our government. However large or small you want the government to be, there needs to be governance. And people have always had very negative things to say about the way the government worked, but at least at some points the government did some things. But it just needs to be a smart thing, and you wish you could come up with people and systems that would take an idea, implement it in the most efficient way possible according to the intent and spirit of that particular law, and then have people that kind of monitor and give feedback so that changes can be made. But the nature of governance is that brains just quit working at some level.
Yeah.
I want to point out that there's something wrong with Nerdy Roland. I don't know what it is. Anyway.
Well, with genius comes madness.
That's right. Yes, nerdy.
Not too many years ago, I was really offended by that whole tear down the statues thing because it's like, okay, are we erasing history or what? But then one day it occurred to me, when was the last fucking time I ever even saw a statue of some civil fucking war hero? And when was the last time I ever felt like I had to go to the park and just take in the beauty of some statue, any kind of fucking statue? And
you've obviously not spent a lot of time in the South.
Then I realized
in the parks.
I have this T-shirt that says "No skin off my ass." I realize that I really don't care what they do with the statues. If it offends somebody, I don't give a fuck what you do with it.
People practically deify their Confederate generals from local areas because they were usually the most prominent aristocrats in the area.
Sure.
Yeah, when
I've had people just talk longingly and lovingly about their particular general that they were probably related to in some way, like standing there on an Easter morning in the Confederate cemetery. It's just really, it's a weird feeling. Kind of gets you in the gut, like there's something wrong here with this whole phenomenon.
Well, I think I was in the Carolinas and they had some big hullabaloo. They were flying the Confederate flag all over the fucking place, and like,
Yeah.
what are you doing exactly? You know, it's like
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but like I say, it just doesn't affect me. It doesn't bother me. I don't give a shit. I don't have any Confederate flags here.
Sure.
We got a guy down the street, and he has Trump signs and flags, and I don't know if I think he may have had a Confederate flag, but he's just like his entire yard is covered with right wing stuff.
Wow.
Right, everybody knows him as a flag guy. So my neighbors right that moved in, they put a rainbow sign in their sign saying "All are welcome" with a rainbow to counteract him. So I suggested that they should start, just planting more and more ultra left, signs and posters in their yard to counter the flag guy. But apparently he's a nice guy, but he's just a little bit. I think he's over caffeinated, probably from birth.
Okay, I have a quick question. I want to address this to our side chat because we need to all put our brains together in answering this question for me, because I honestly don't know. But I've seen the interviews like on Rebel HQ and the Young Turks, where they will put a microphone in front of some guy with a Confederate flag, and they asked him about Confederate statues and stuff, and he says, well, we have to keep we have to remember our Southern heritage. It's not about racism, it's not about slavery, it's about our heritage. Well,
right.
Can somebody please tell me what the heck they're talking about? Has any Southerner, maybe a transplant from the South to near where you live, if you're not in the South, anybody ever explained what they mean by Southern heritage and how it requires a Confederate flag or a Confederate statue? Like Southern heritage could mean cornbread recipes or pumpkin pie or something like that. It could mean the way you cross stitch or something, I guess. But what the heck are they talking about other than slavery?
Why don't they carry around burning crosses with their Confederate flags for their Southern heritage, right? or nooses, they should carry those around because that's part of the Southern heritage. Or fucking workhouses and every form of slavery that they've invented since the Civil War, that part of their Southern heritage. Like, fuck you.
Right.
Yeah.
I hear you. And Benghazi made a good point that a lot of those statues were made in protest during the civil rights era, right? They were meant to put it in your face with their racism, and I'll just grant that, right? But my solution is still the same. Thank you for making these statues commemorating these racist assholes. But and yes, they were part of our history and in an unfortunate but important way. So let's still make that park of shame, that walk of shame, right? Let's still make this into an educational opportunity. Move those to one place where we can have real discussions about where they went wrong, right? If you really want to talk about history. And
yes,
so,
another thing conservatives want to do to make you forget is the movie Birth of a Nation from the turn of the 20th century. You would need to finish what you're saying, James, but that was a whole phenomenon, and it was a big hit among everybody. It was like the Star Wars of the turn of the century. But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that was essentially my whole point. So
yeah, but we need to. Yeah, I need to look into that more. But yeah, it was about how fear of black people because they're going to rape our white women, and it held up the Ku Klux Klan as the heroes of the story. And this
Yeah.
wasn't just in the South; it was popular all over the country.
Well, if they want to commemorate the history of the Civil War, what they should have is statues of both Union and Confederate soldiers with their guts hanging out and their legs being cut off and blood pouring out of every fucking orifice. Show us the blood and gore. If you want to commemorate the Civil War, that's what you got to be doing. Right?
Spooky bed hair is getting
he's
controversial here.
Oh my! Oh shit! Did you? I watched that movie. Holy fuck! I found out about it a couple of years ago, and it's like, okay, I got to watch this motherfucker. And it's like, holy fuck! That was like, when was that made? Like around 1920 or something like that?
Yeah, I'm surprised it was that late, but like I said, it's the idea of it, and it's rolling in our culture is the important thing. So birth of a nation, and here we go. I bet the answer's out there already in our side chat. 1915, according to Birth of a Nation, originally called The Klansman, is a 1915 silent epic drama directed by D.W. Griffith, starring Lillian Gish, of all people.
Yeah. Danish Debater, I did get your email, and I opened it, and then I closed it, and then I fucking forgot it. So I got to get back to you. So I will. Anyway, sorry. I just had to interject that. I'm kind of watching chat. I'm trying to be better at watching chat. And I want to note that Carol the Atheist joined.
Hi, Carol.
And I had not seen Danish Debater, but Danish Debater is here. So anyway. Yep. What else? What's happening? It's warming up in Minnesota. It's fucking near 30 degrees here. What do you think of that? It is 30 degrees. So starting at 5 o'clock last night, the temperature started going up, and it went up all night. The sun is not out. Why is the temperature going up?
No.
What's happening?
It's crazy.
It's crazy shit. I don't know. Should we talk about
Sign of the
evolution?
times. So I've got about 15 more minutes. So if you guys want to talk about Rebecca or anything controversial, with me, your window opportunity is closing.
Oh, our window's closing. Oh no.
Yeah. We don't have to today, or you guys can talk about it without me. But I've got 15 minutes left. So.
I hate it when windows close on me.
It's a big subject, and creationists are just so hard to reason with because they're like fucking stabbing a marble with a fork. They slip all over the fucking scoreboard or the playing field. And anytime that you come near to making a point with them, and like the whole idea with Rebecca is that all of the scientists are using their worldview, right? They have this worldview of naturalism. And this worldview of naturalism is why they arrive at the conclusions they do about evolution. And I do not arrive at the conclusion I have about evolution. Okay, in some sense, because I don't believe in any kind of fucking supernatural bullshit. If I sit down and have a talk with myself and say, Mike, how do you think life happened? Well, it fucking happened with abiogenesis and evolution, right? Because I don't have any other options other than to say that aliens or some super race, which is the same as God, came down and fixed it up and did it, right?
Uh-huh.
But then, okay, I'm at it's the year 2000 and I have to decide, I'm an adult, do I believe evolution happened or not? And I look around and I ask, I get a bunch of biology textbooks and they all talk about it and they all seem like it's established. And then I go and read some papers and I start delving into the subject and it's like, yeah, everybody, 99.9% of them think it's established that, we have that evolution and common ancestry happen. So now here, go ahead.
The fringe holdouts are coincidentally fundamentalist religious people.
Right. Yeah. And guess what? There is absolutely no evidence anywhere that says the earth is 6,000 years old. The only thing that they have is the Bible. So who's coming at it from a worldview? And Rebecca says, no, I go to the science. Like, okay, what science does she go to? Sal Cordova's channel. And what is Sal Cordova? A fucking preachy young earth creationist with an axe to grind. I mean, that's the science that he comes up with. So okay, so I'm an adult, and I'm James Apperson, and I don't want to learn all about evolution. What am I going to go with? 99.9% of the scientists, or Rebecca and Sel when I'm not a Christian? I mean, why would I choose that? And it's just mind-numbing how they think.
It is, but if you understand clinical narcissism, you'll understand their entire reasoning. And I'm not saying that to be accusatory or to just like grind an axe or anything like that. Literally, it's the same thing. It's just that they've got a religious pretense for it. So they're entitled to everything, right? It's for them, it's okay to believe in things there's no good evidence for. It's okay to be dishonest. It's okay to be illogical. It's okay to make up facts that aren't facts. But you can only do that when you have sanction from a super being, right? Then it's okay to be religious. So she'll say, you atheists are being religious, and you atheists are a part of a cult, and you atheists aren't being logical or reasonable or factual. But then she knows that her religion isn't those things. Her point is not that it's bad to be illogical or that it's bad to make up stuff, right? Her point is that it's only good when religious people do it, because then you've got God's sanction to be that way. But if you don't have God's sanction, then you're not allowed to have any of those indulgences, right? And it's just a license for a special privilege, for having a different set of ethical standards for other people than you have for yourself, which is the core of narcissism, right? So think about it in that context, that makes sense. Now, I'm not saying she's right. I'm not saying that atheists or secularists or whatever, or evolutionary biologists are guilty of the things she says, but she perceives that they are. But her problem isn't that she's not really taking an objection to the things she's complaining about. Her point is really only that the only people who are entitled to those indulgences are religious people. Nobody else is allowed to think religiously, make up facts arbitrarily, be illogical, be dishonest. Only Christians are allowed that, and everybody else should stay in their lane.
Right, and faith is a good thing when they have faith in God, but it's a bad thing if you use faith in any other context. I mean,
same.
We all operate on faith, basically. We have faith that gravity's going to keep working. We have faith that we're the same person when we wake up. We have a lot of faith. Everybody has faith. But when they say faith in evolution, it means that we just want to believe. We have no reason to believe in it. Well,
and I have faith that Grumania is going to drop some wisdom bombs on us here.
Yeah,
that's my middle name, Wisdom Bombs. Wisdom Bombs Mania.
Wisdom bombs.
So what the fuck were you thinking last night? So did Alpha ever explain what woke is?
Honestly, I barely remember it. So I was doing 3 streams last night, 2 on my streaming channel. And then after that was over, me and Leo were backstage probably a good 45 minutes or so, maybe an hour actually. I think it was an hour, watching Backrooms, that analog horror stuff. And then after that, I joined BS Lewis's stream with Rebecca. And then after that ended, me and him stayed up backstage talking for probably another hour. By the time I finally went to bed, I think it was almost 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't recommend that.
Yeah. So you talked to Rebecca last night. She's refusing to talk to me about evolution. And I'm like, go ahead.
Well, no. I mean, I do. I think I don't know. I think she's tired of evolution talk, but I don't know that for sure.
No, she spews it all over the place. She has no problem getting on somebody's stream and saying, "Oh, like she did."
That's a good point. Yeah,
she did last week. I think it was on your stream where she was basically all. She has no problem.
But
she
where I got that idea.
She won't enter into a reasoned discussion with me about it. She says, we can be friends, but I just don't want to talk to you about this. It's like, well, if you want to be my fucking friend, you're going to talk to me about this and because it's a real problem between us, right? And it's like, I don't know. It just blows me away. But I tried every means available to very carefully lay out something that we could talk about that would basically have science facts to back it up. You know, we could come up with a reasoned approach to how we decide about evolution. And so I can't have this conversation with you. You're just an evolutionary zombie is what you call it.
Wow.
Evolutionary
Fuck
zombie.
you.
Wow.
Yeah, I just want to say, fuck you, Rebecca. Fuck you. Like, I think you're a fucking creationist zombie. How do you take that? How do you like
Right.
that? How do you like that? So I'm kind of fucking pissed.
I see one of my biggest fans, Maya Atkinson, is in the side chat talking about how
Hello,
much
Maya.
she loves me being here. I think I need my glasses, but I think that's what it says.
The stream
Wow,
is-
Gur Streams is back, and this stream got awesome. That's what I read.
And that's how that works.
Yeah, it's great to read what you want to read.
That's
Every
right. You
now
know,
and
just that's how Christians do the Bible. They just
Yeah, that's
read
how you
parts
and
that they
Rebecca
like.
get along so well.
So yeah,
Every now and then
and I
I
don't-
like to have my handicapped friends into the stream.
you're handicapped.
Well, that's what I'm here for.
Equal opportunities.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
So, I'm
right,
sorry,
guys,
James.
so-
Were you trying to say something?
Yeah, I'm going to leave here in just a minute. And as far as the well, I mean, we've got Gur here. Like, I can't compete with like, you know,
Oh.
celebrity in the room. So
It's the other way around, I think.
yeah, wouldn't that be great? So as far as like having Rebecca for a friend, like I have no opinion about whether or not somebody should be friends with her or not friends with her. Like when we think about what it means to have a friend and why we even bother having friends, I guess it makes sense for you to stop and ask yourself what you're getting out of that relationship, or what there even is the potential for getting out of that relationship. And if you're just a source of frustration for each other, and there's no pro-social, you know, dynamic, there's no progress, there's no meaningful dialogue, there's no meaningful sense of connection, and you're not going to do anything for each other, right? Like she's not going to nominate you for Atheist of the Month next month and give you $50. Like, what are you getting out of the arrangement? And that's up for you to decide, right? Like, there's nothing there for me, and that's why I'm not friends with her. But it's not because I'm angry at her or whatever. I'm just not, right? Like, I don't take any of that stuff personal. Her brain works the way that it works, and if she doesn't have anything to offer me as a potential friend, then I just keep walking, right? And, you know, it just is what it is. So.
Oh yeah, I get that.
I'm really insulted by her treatment of me. She's been very condescending. She'll put me on the spot and ask me questions, and then she won't let me answer the question. She won't listen to anything I say. She won't follow my line of reasoning. I call that being disingenuous and being just downright shitty toward your friends. And I'm
It's
really good for that.
textbook clinical narcissism. I mean, as long as you study clinical narcissism in relationships, her whole religious culture and their whole playbook for how they engage with dialogue with our community will make perfect sense. They stick 100% to that guidebook, and do what you want with it. But like, if you want to understand the psychology behind it, just study narcissism, right? So make peace with it and move on. Is what I say.
No fucking patience for young Earth creationism. Young Earth creationists that won't delve into the topic in a rational way. I have no patience for it.
Sure.
I will say, as far as being friends goes, like just in general, this is, I think, slightly off topic, but on the topic of friends, if somebody is friends with someone that I don't like, or I despise, or I have no respect for, I don't hold that friend in contempt.
Why are you
It's
both
just-
so needy?
It's just like, yeah, like for example, if Speed was friends with, I don't know, X, whoever X is, and I really don't like X. But if Speed is friends with X, it's like, well, that's on you. I'm not going to be like, hey, how can you be friends with X? Now there are certain, there's definitely exceptions to the rule. For example, when I talked to Brett Keane, I don't know, a week or two back, he talks about how he's good friends with Matt Powell, you know, when he's not being his enemy. And I said, well, listen, how can you be friends with someone who doesn't just have a terrible opinion, but actually wants the government to kill people for their, you know, their sexual orientation?
Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't be friends with Matt Paul. I just
No, definitely not. It's too much of a little.
Maya Atkinson. I put a link out there. Come on in the room. We have something
Please.
to discuss. We don't know. Yeah, well, whatever
Yeah, we
you
don't.
choose for a conversation will be what we contribute to. How about that?
Yeah, if there's something on your mind, jump on in and share it with us. I really do have to go, guys, but thank you for having me on here. And
James, you're breaking my heart. Okay, goodbye.
all right,
See
all
you,
right, I love you
James.
guys.
Good talking with
See
you.
you.
Bye,
Talk to you
James.
soon. Bye.
I also reached out to Alpha and sent him the link to the stream. Not to get in, but to the stream. I was going to send you his email, but I think his email is under his real name, and I don't know if he wants that going out or not. So
Somebody put his email out, and I sent him an email. I'm not sure what it is, but
okay.
yeah, but yeah. I was kind of upset with the way people were over talking him when he was trying to elaborate on what he meant by woke, and therefore I never figured out what he meant by woke. As near as I could tell, he was saying that it's basically bad Hollywood writing, and it's like, okay, that doesn't make sense.
No,
That's
it doesn't.
Hello.
And it was during that portion of the stream where I was like, man, I really wish it was just me and Alpha in here so I could get down to the bottom of this.
So did I remember seeing Heathen Queen ask everybody if they know when woke first was used as a term. Did she ever answer that, or did anybody ever cover that?
I think so, but I don't know.
You don't remember?
It was
you didn't learn nothing.
As per usual, I learned nothing.
You're gonna have to do that entire stream again tomorrow.
Oh hell no! I'm done with 10 panelist open rooms for a while. Nothing against anybody, but it's just too much. I hardly do that anymore. I'll have maybe 5 people in, and every once in a while I would do an open room, and I still probably will. But after last night, I'm like, yeah, that's why I don't do open rooms. And as far as letting everybody and their mom come in at the same time, because it's just too hard for a conversation to follow a linear path.
You're gonna get haunted, Grr. Spooky Bedler says Grr kept muting poor Leo for no reason.
Right? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I actually had to put Leo backstage quite a few times.
You're gonna get haunted.
Leo and somebody else kept interrupting Alpha every time they'd ask him a question, and fucking halfway through the question jump on him, and it's like, come on, stop doing that. So because for your viewers, it is not something that you can listen to.
No, yeah, and that's the thing. Like, for me personally, I don't listen to streams that have 10 people trying to talk at once and interrupting and all that stuff. I'm not knocking anyone by any means, or anyone on the panel, but I can't listen to that. So it surprised me when I got more active viewers during that huge segment of everybody talking versus one where it's just a laid back stream and it's just me,
hello, Miss Maya.
Hi, can you hear me?
That's here, yeah.
Hello, Maya.
So are you a psychologist or a neuroscientist or?
No, my field is in industrial and organization. Yeah, industrial psychology and employee development.
Okay.
Oh, I did not know that. That's cool.
Yeah. So like when I was talking about self and all that stuff, I thought you said you disagreed with me, and I've been trying to set up a conversation with you about it.
Yeah, I've been doing open enrollment, orientation, fucking recruitment, my own fucking streams. Just like 3 this week. I'm just really fucking busy, and I'm like, yeah, no, I disagreed with almost everything you said, but like, I don't want to.
Oh my God.
Shots fired.
I want this conversation to take place. So
what
bad.
the hell? Okay.
But I want like more time to like look into shit, because like I graduated 10 years ago. I mean, it's just like, I don't want to start like saying shit off the top of my head.
Well, no, just, can you kind of give me some direction about what you disagree with? No, not even a little bit. My God.
Nope, not a silly.
Was it when I said the self does not really exist? because
I mean,
I'm not,
okay, so when you say stuff like that, it takes me back to my woo days. So I
yeah,
need that to be a little more fleshed out.
yeah. I
But I
actually
mean, it's kind of
noticed
like
that.
when like people ask Dr. Josh a question, he's like, I remember going over this in school, but like I want to kind of look more into it before I say more, because like when you're in a field, like the last thing you want to do is misrepresent the field.
That's
Yeah.
why you need to be like Dr. Josh and go, that's not my area of expertise.
Well, I mean, my area of expertise, I mean, it's in worker psychology, but it's a study of motivation and
Oh,
human
yeah.
behavior. So, I mean,
Nice.
it's and it's pretty broad. Like it has to be, because you have to be able to deal with any type of person. So, I mean, like outside of like abnormal psych. So I don't, even though I do have to be able to readily recognize like behaviors that are kind of delving. I just have to know enough to tell somebody to get help.
Yeah.
So when I say the self doesn't exist, I wouldn't agree with that statement just all by itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not quite what's meant by the self doesn't exist. Like for myself, it basically depends on how I frame what I am and what I think I am, right? And
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying is for myself, I need to work on my concept of self in the direction of I don't really exist. Or I need to eliminate, I need to eliminate myself. It's not me. I want to get out of me, and I want to change my vision of how I think of me and what's
So
happening
like
here.
in a Hindu Buddhist kind of way, or
In a Buddhist kind of way, yeah.
Okay.
That basically I want to get used to the idea that there's going to be death, and it's okay, and the whole, and like I was okay with it before I was born. Why should I be so upset about it now?
Because you're old.
Yeah, well,
I mean, it's
and it's good.
scary.
And I mean, there's the mechanics of dying, which I've seen way too often, and I don't want to do that. But I mean, that's not what bothers me. The non-existence part bothers me. It's like, you mean I'm not going to get up and get coffee and do what I do? Lay in my fucking chair and listen to YouTube videos.
Why are you? I mean, seriously, why are you thinking about it?
Because I'm old, and well, I had kidney cancer last year, and
But I mean, what's going to happen is going to happen. So why are you thinking about it?
Yeah, and that's kind of the frame. I'm trying to get more into the present, more, and the other thing is that I found. Excuse me a second. Cough up a lung. I found okay, I've been going through this journey with a psychotherapist, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've been finding all of these pieces of me, and I've been pulling out these pieces of me, and I'm wondering what's left after I get rid of all of those pieces of me. And the answer is only what's happening right now in this moment. That's the only thing left. And I've been trying to take these pieces of me that are operating on me in a negative fashion and causing confusion and distress in my life. I'm just trying to re-examine all of that. So I would say things, blanket statements like the self doesn't exist. But no, I don't agree with it. The self is this complex of body and brain and context and environment and history. And it very much does exist. And I will always have been, even after I'm dead. So there's always going to be a something called Mike Bruzak that was here, and that was like an accumulation. But then it's just that I think we tend to be off base about what we think of as ourself, and I want to change that in myself. So that's kind of
No, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I can kind of relate to it. Like I'm Taoist, which I know isn't the same, but like it was kind of weird. Like I came out of Christianity and just like immediately went into Taoism without even knowing what it was. But finally, like I'm like more Taoist than most of like the devout Taoist I mean, where it's just like I understand that I'm part of a whole, and I want to be able. It's kind of twofold. So I need to understand like who I am by myself, so I know what I have to contribute to everything. But I always understand that all I am is something that contributes to the greater good. And so at that point, it's just like, okay, what's broad? What's the grand scale? What is it I would like to see? And insofar as my actions further that along, that a part of me never dies. Like I'm never truly dead.
Yeah. That I agree with too.
For me, that I personally find comfort in that, but I can't tell you what is going to be helpful for you. Just thinking, if we're both like kind of in this like Easter philosophy kind of mindset, maybe it would be helpful. It's not something I often talk about because like a lot of people seem to still be struggling with Christianity, and it's a kind of a toxic individuality mindset.
Yeah. And then, there's this other thing that I have really grappled with, and that is the grief over my daughter's death 2 years ago. And she was 52, and she's gone.
Sorry to hear that.
And she was actually murdered, which made it even crazier. Mm-hmm. But and after the first month or so, after you lose a loved one, nobody wants to fucking talk about it, right? Yeah. Nobody wants to bring it up anymore, but you do, because it's in your mind constantly, right? And so trying to, and not only did she die, but her mom died 2 years before that, and there was a group of five of us that hung out back in the 70s, and we were like constant companions, and we were like a family. We were all in love with each other, right? Mm-hmm. My wife, my daughter, and two best friends. And they're all dead. All of them are dead, and they're not here anymore. And so there's those big pieces of me, and they haunt me. They haunt me in good ways, and they haunt me in bad ways. And I started pulling out the bad ways that they haunt me, and trying to quiet that down, and come to terms with the whole of my daughter's life in such a way that I no longer view it as something that I need to erase or go back and change, because I can't, right? I would if I could, but I can't. So I have to be, but I don't just have to be okay with it in the sense that I can't do anything about it. I have to be okay with it in the grand scheme of things in my life. And that's what I'm grappling with. And I'm trying to integrate all of that. The fact that I'm the last one standing, like, during one particular experience I had, I was thinking, all those people thought I was going to be dead by the time I was 24 years old. All of them. And I'm the only one alive right now at 72. How funny is that?
It's interesting.
But along with that, and then there's some survivor guilt, and all the stuff like that. So I mean, that,
I was wondering that.
Yeah, that's all the shit that's rolling around in my head, and and I have to integrate this somehow, and I want to do that before I die. I want to be better and more integrated, and I want to integrate my entire life and history and all of it with the entire universe, basically. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do when I say the self doesn't exist. But yeah, you got to write down all the things that you hated that I said, because I'm probably wrong about half of them, or more than half, or maybe all of them. Right? Because I don't know what the fuck is going on. Do I?
I'm beginning to wonder if anyone does. So.
Right. There's different ways to frame things. And man, as far as yourself, what I did find, or what I have found out in the last maybe 10, 16 years, on this Buddhist journey, is that you get to kind of pick how you want to be a self, or yeah, and we have a lot of control over how we frame it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's important to understand. And then it's important, then after you decide that, okay, I get to choose, what do I choose? Right?
Yeah, and again, I'm not again, I'm not Buddhist. I haven't looked too much into them. And I should, because I was like part of a Buddhist temple for a while. You know, they talk about things, and usually I just took away the things that I was familiar with. Um, for me, it was more like there's who you are, and there's your journey to discover that. So it's like when you talk to this artist, and they're like, "Well, the statue's already in the marble. You just need to bring it out." And it's like the same with the self. Like you're, you know, who you are. You know, like that's there. You have to strip away what everybody's told you should be.
Yeah.
To get to who you really are. Discover that person, and you'll figure out, and then you can get to the part where you're figuring out how you fit in with society. You get to tell society, and at that point you then get to tell society how you will allow it to interact with you.
Yeah. I will intuitively know what to do once I figure that out. You know, that sort of thing. There was, oh yeah, if you haven't delved deeply into Buddhist, that's the definition. Buddhism, that's the definition of a real Buddhist. Real Buddhists don't get too deep. I mean, you don't follow every, you know, read all the old ancient documents and, you know, try to fucking create this big, huge myth, right? You let all that
Yeah,
go. Buddhism.
actually at the temple I went to, they don't even they weren't even into that. They were like, you know, there were a lot of new books being written, and there would be people that they loved and respected, and they would kind of push those, like, well, if you're interested in this, then read this from this person or that from that person. All the books were really within the last 5 to 10 years. Like the old stuff, it's just like, well, that was written for people with this mindset at the time that it was written. There's a different way of looking at things now, and embracing that. You know, change is constant, and that there's not, I guess, like if you worship gods, there may be more uh, of a foundation on like the past or tradition, but at the temple that I was at, like that, it really wasn't. It was embracing who you are and where you're at.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, worshiping God would be basically like not worshiping God. It would be like some sort of a deeper, integral, like I do that with the universe, right? Because I'm a hard atheist, naturalist. And for me, it's just becoming as integrated with all of that as I can in my mind. That I consider worshiping God or whatever. I like the idea that the one thing from Christianity that I think is a good takeaway is God's will. When you say that, what you mean is that basically you are subject to whatever the universe is willing for you. You know, whatever's going to happen in your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's and having faith in God's will is totally becoming okay with whatever happens, even if I go out there and I cut my foot off in the garage sawing wood or some fucking thing. I mean, I have to be okay with all tragedy and everything that unfolds in my life, and that's one concept from Christianity that I care for. The rest of it is just garbage to me. It's just it's so anti. I mean, it's like unhumble in that they think human beings are the most important thing in the entire fucking cosmos. At the same time, human beings are dirty sinners. I mean, how screwed up is that? You know, they go from one pole to the other. We're dirty sinners, yet we're God's chosen ones. You know, and God made us in His image, and the universe made us in His image. That just strikes me as toxic shit, right?
No, I hear you. It's just, I don't know. It's kind of weird for me because, like, for me, Christianity was like very different than the experiences that I hear most of the people here having. Coming from the north, it wasn't pushed as like, you know. I mean, there are people that I had no idea were very religious at all until, you know, they start telling me about their wedding or, you know,
Right.
some other aspect. So it, like, I don't know, people like, it's more in line with what I hear people in Europe saying. Like, it's like, well, yeah, I guess my politician has a religion. I don't really care. It has nothing to do with why I'm voting for them. Like, how do you stand on issues? And, I would feel that way about my coworkers or, anyone I met on the street. I've never, ever had anyone ask me, what church do I go to? It's,
You must live in the north.
yeah.
I guess in the South, that's a pretty common question. It's like
Apparently, that's what they say right after hello. I was just like, wow.
Yeah, exactly. With me coming from northern Minnesota, the first question they asked me when I was a little boy is, "Who's your father?" What kind of a son is your father, right?
Yeah, I know. Or like, I don't know. I'm Black, so it's always, who's your peoples? Like, they want to know who your family are, and who do I talk to about you, little kid?
Yeah, and then when they found out who my father was, they would immediately judge me, and they put me in that category. I think that was karma. Yeah. That was my dad's karma following, bleeding into me, that sort of thing. Yeah. Anyway, I grew up at an interesting time, the 1950s in northern Minnesota, where we didn't know that racism still existed. They told us that it was all fixed, that everything was good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I was a teenager in the 60s, and we found out about the whole civil rights movement, Kennedy, and all of that. And we were like, and then we grew our hair long, and we started, doing various things, marching, taking drugs, fucking re-examining the establishment and everything we came from. And that's where everything started to change. That's what really kills me about boomers. Boomers are the hippies, right?
Right.
And now they're fucking, like, a lot of them are like totally the opposite of what we were, of what we embraced in the 60s. What we embraced in the 60s was, there was a lot of beautiful shit about it. It was wonderful. And it seems like a lot of these guys grew up and went, fell back into the shit that they came from with their parents in the 50s. That sort of thing.
Yeah, money has a way of doing that to you.
Yeah, it does, I guess. Well, money and, paying bills and fucking going to work every day and all that shit. And family.
Power and privilege.
Having kids. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, I mean, yeah, and that's actually interesting, because a lot of like, when interviewed, a lot of people white people during the civil rights movement, it's like, well, why are you doing this? And it was more or less them saying, I know my privilege, and I was told that, like, anyone can do anything, and then I find out that there's this group of people who didn't, who were just completely left out, and I've been lied to. It was a sense of being lied to my entire life about what my country was, and so they fought against that. Which is why I'm saying, like, Christians like Rebecca all the time, and just like fucking embrace the truth, because even in the atheist community, that I see people doing is like just completely throwing the baby out with the bathwater. It's just like, evolution's false. Well, then I don't want any of it. You fuckers are liars. And I'm like, I never went through any of that. I was brought up with, I was Catholic. Catholics are generally pretty, pro science. I never had there's no, they don't lie to us about God being, all loving. Like, it wasn't until I got, came into the skeptic community that I heard about an all-loving God. It's like, no, Catholics do not believe that. God is a spiteful fucker who will smite you if you get out of line. So go over there, shut the hell up. Like, it. So, like, you just,
if he smites you,
people,
if he smites you and you're not out of line, he's building your soul.
Yeah.
No. If God smites you, you did something wrong, and we don't know what it is, but God was probably, we're sure God was right to do it. I don't know. Catholics are weird, but like, we didn't have a lot of the lies that I guess a lot of Protestant faiths tell people. But like, when you lie to people, they rebel. So, like, I don't understand. I don't know. I mean, I understand why you would lie to a little kid. It's like, well, if you lie to them, then they're going to believe this, and then they'll take that into adulthood, because people don't really look into I mean, largely don't look into what you tell them. But yeah, I kind of wish more of the baby boomers kept that, because it's really them turning into their parents has really fucked over their children and their grandchildren, who see it and resent it, and it's something's got to give soon, and I don't know, it's not looking good.
So back to that point you made about being lied to, that was I remember being in seventh grade, I think eighth or ninth grade, and looking back at what I had been taught in civics and history in seventh grade. Mm-hmm. And that was the overpowering feeling that they had lied to us. And we were horrified at what we saw when they finally started showing us what was going on in other parts of the country, because that was kept from us entirely. And it's like, you fuckers lied to us so badly, and we're your children. And, you know, but I don't even think my dad knew what the hell was going on in the South. I mean, you know, being from northern Minnesota, we had black person in all of northeastern Minnesota, right? Mm-hmm. His name was, oddly enough, Whitey, his nickname. And,
God.
Yeah, and he was, you know, and he was, everybody liked him, and I don't know, so I didn't even know racism existed. We grew up with Native Americans, and then I moved down to Minneapolis, and I found out that there was supposed to be racism against Native Americans. Well, they were my friends and my dad's friends, and I grew up with them, and I didn't know what the hell they were talking about. What is racism? But then, you know, I had to face some of it myself, and you know, it's like, you know, the idea of othering, that sort of thing, the other tribe, you know, as far as, you know, Russians, Germans, whatever. I mean, you know, I had to face a lot of that. I had to face the source of it in myself, but God, they lied to us, and that's why the fucking hippie movement broke out in the 1960s, and we rejected everything from our parents, and it was unanimous.
And now they're going back to that, which is odd. Like the same people who felt lied to are now like, yeah, let's erase all of history from history books and lie to our children. What could go wrong?
Yeah, I don't know, but I think in general, people in my age group, there's a lot of us that did not go back that still feel this way. All of my friends. Oh
yeah, definitely. Definitely.
So I mean, you just hear about the assholes, you know. The assholes are going to be louder than the rest of them. So.
Yeah, but I kind of wish the people who remembered were a little more vocal too. You know, when you're seeing what's going on in Texas and Florida, and these are people, there are a lot of people there that remember this and are just like, yeah, this is fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Texas and Florida could secede from the Union, and
I wouldn't miss them.
Yeah, I wouldn't miss them.
Well, thanks a lot, guys.
Well,
you can be your own country. Good fucking luck.
Yeah, you can get a passport, Scott.
I would like to establish the country of Gur.
The country of Gur.
And the residents would be called Gurmans.
What you call it, Gurland? This land is Gurland. This land is Gurland.
We're Gurmans, not Germans.
An overly exaggerated sense of who you are and what your self is, Gur.
Wait, what? I was reading something. What'd you say?
You missed that. Anyway.
Yeah,
that's I would like to take a vote to establish Gurland.
Yeah. Sounds like a theme park, doesn't it?
Is it going to be warm there? Is it going to be warm? Will there be alligators?
What's your policy towards immigrants?
Yeah. Only good people.
Minnesota is brutally cold, but you know what? We don't have any fucking rattlesnakes. I went down to Texas last fall, and I wanted to go out and see this old farmhouse that I had visited when I was a teenager and played croquet in the lawn. And I wanted to walk out to the house was falling down, and I wanted to go out and look at it. My brother said, no, rattlesnakes. You can't walk in the woods. And I'm like, wait a minute, you Texans don't walk in the woods? It's like, what the fuck?
Wait, seriously?
Well, I guess we stopped at a church to find a plaque that to my mom for some reason in the middle of Texas. Long story, but anyway, this woman told us, "Oh no, we never walk in the woods around here." It's like, what the fuck? Like, move to
No,
Minnesota.
yeah, that's weird. In the north, like, you see some woods, you go walking.
Yeah. And they're afraid to walk in the woods because rattlesnakes will get you. It's like, holy shit. My brother was
Wow.
horrified at the thought that I might actually get out of the car and walk into the grass because I would have been like in the emergency room apparently in 20 minutes.
Well, I've walked on trails in the spring and summer before.
Yeah.
So
Well, I was walking. I was working for Wachovia in North Carolina, and and they have a campus there that houses 10,000 employees. And I was walking on these pathways. They had the most beautiful grounds. They had their own coffee shop. They had their own doctor. They had their own clothing stores in this compound, right, at Wachovia. And anyway, I was walking on this walkway, and there was a goddamn 5-foot water moccasin coiled up right next to the walkway, and everybody just walks around them, and it's like, you don't see anything wrong with this. It's like, shoot him. I don't know. Snakes got to be snakes.
Well, the thing is, when you go for a walk in the woods, you're not there to shoot the residents, so you do avoid as much as you can.
That's wise words, Scott. Wise words.
Well, I have run away from skunks before. That's really fun to be like jogging along on a trail or something near a park, and there's a skunk coming right at you, like looking at you like you don't belong there.
Well, I know the first time I smelled a skunk, I didn't know what it was at first because I couldn't see it. But I thought, wait a second, is speed walking in the woods too?
How do you remove people on this channel? I haven't learned how to do that on StreamYard yet. Oh, wait a minute. I found a button. You got to bounce them out just to let you know that I can do it.
Yeah, you gotta. What is it when birds like get out their feathers like peacocks?
Yeah.
I know, Gert knows. He was bouncing motherfuckers left and right last night.
Yeah, everyone was getting on my nerves last night.
So
I don't know what happened last night, but it was just like if there was a fucker awake, like they all like flocked to your channel.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm thinking because I was just telling Speed right before you popped in, which is I personally don't like to listen to those types of streams where it's 10 people and no one can get a word in edgewise and it's just chaos. And yet that stream had a lot more viewers than usual, and I'm like, why is anybody watching this? Like, I don't get it.
Like
yeah, dumpster fires get views. You think people invite certain people over?
Right. Well, that is true, but I don't understand it because I rarely watch dumpster fires in my own time because that's not my cup of tea. But then naturally, if I do an open stream and I let 10 people in, well, 9 people, 10 would be myself included. I'm just like, why would anybody listen to this? This is chaos. Now, obviously, there are good times here and there on anybody's stream where it's a easy. It doesn't even have to be an easy conversation, but everybody's able to share their points of view, arguments and counter arguments. But when it's just raw, it's like, oh my god, why is anybody listening? And how can you listen?
Yeah, I listened for a while, and about the 10th time that Alpha got cut off, when people asked him a question, and I was really trying to hone in on what he thought woke was because it wasn't making any sense to me.
It was at that moment that I thought, wow, I really wish it was just me and Alpha right now so I could get down to the bottom of what he's talking about.
You should have tossed everybody and got.
Yeah,
I actually did consider it, but I was like, no, I'll just ask him another time.
Yeah, I don't want to hurt.
Why?
Yeah, I don't want to hurt people's feelings on the channel. That's why I let a dumpster fire happen.
Oh, hold on for a second.
I won't even vacuum my room because it might hurt my kitty's feelings.
You don't want to hurt their feelings, their poor feels.
I know.
But yeah, I don't know. It's just, yeah.
But
And
yeah,
don't get me wrong. I know these type of streams. We're all trying to share our thoughts that are hopefully based, in reason and not just other crap that doesn't matter, on how to make society better or how can we progress or what is good, what is bad, politically, philosophically, and so on. And when it's so many people, you're kind of fighting for the mic or the talking stick. So I get the nature of it, but it's just like, man, it's just too much. And then, I'll just be like, I give up and just let whoever talk. All right, see you, Maya.
okay, Maya.
It's let me see here. When everybody's trying to talk, and one thing that bugs me is somebody will be like, "Hey, Germania, why don't you control the room?" And I'm like, "Because this looks bad or something." And I'm
Oh, you
thinking,
tried.
well, I tried quite a few times, and but even then, it's like I'm not the one making anyone look bad. If you come in and make a fool of yourself, that's on you. That's not on me.
Right.
I don't see how I get the blame for somebody looking stupid.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I felt kind of bad for Alpha at some point. I don't know, but at the same time, I really think he was talking shit.
Yeah, I was not tracking with what little bit I could track with on what he was saying. I was not agreeing with what little bit I could understand of what he was saying.
It almost seems like he was talking about bad Hollywood writing.
And that's the thing. I've talked to another friend of mine who unironically uses the word woke here on YouTube, and I've watched other videos. And what I get from what they mean by woke is just what you said. They're just saying it's bad writing. And I'm thinking, well, why not just call it bad writing? Why use this word that you don't
Right.
even know how to use correctly? And you don't even know what the word means. So why not just say bad writing?
Yeah, and I think that the reason that they don't do that, the reason that they're really not talking about bad writing is because they just don't want to see this stuff put in front of them. They want it to go away. They want to get rid of the thing that they think the wokes are putting into the writing, right? Because they secretly, it bothers them, right?
I honestly think, yeah, that is the case. Like, they don't want to say that, at least I don't think they want to say publicly that they hate seeing gay, trans,
people,
lesbian, or non-white people on the screen. But as soon as they do, they automatically say it's woke. And if they have a problem with the story, instead of just saying, yes, this is my problem, it's with the story, no, they gotta just say, oh, it's woke because there's a black woman in the movie. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
So stupid.
Yeah, there's a black person in the movie, and he's not the first person killed. Right? Remember those fucking horror movies? It's like, oh, black guy, he's the first one that's going to get killed. We know it. It's like, oh my god.
And something I was actually just looking into before you started streaming was, I thought, okay, this is a thought that I've had for a while. I always hear, and I don't care what side of the aisle somebody is coming from when they say this, but I hear a lot about cancel culture. Yeah. And usually the people that I see use this word are coming from the conservative side, the right-wing side. They'll use the word, oh, this person was canceled, or yada, yada, yada. Cancel culture is bad. But if you look at it, conservatives have been big proponents of cancel culture by boycotting. Like, they boycotted Kmart, Adidas, I think Starbucks a few times. Like, that is the same thing as canceling, only I would say it's much worse because it impacts the dollar, not just the person online.
Well, they just threw out a Muslim Minnesota senator because she's Muslim and she's a woman and she's from Minnesota and she's a Democrat, so they tossed her out of the committees, right? That's canceling. But I mean, like,
Yeah.
Okay, like cancel culture, like, when I used to drink and I'd go over to somebody's house and I'd jump up on the coffee table, and start dancing, and that'd be a glass coffee table, and I collapsed, broke, and I fell on the floor in a pile of blood and started throwing up, and they threw me out.
You got
Isn't that
canceled.
canceling speed? I mean, what? How dare they cancel me? I mean,
You get hashtag canceled.
yeah, exactly.
But
I mean,
yeah,
God.
it's just,
it's- people get tossed out of groups where they say stupid shit and they don't fit in. So what? That's the free market, right? Operating.
Well, and that is another thing that ties into it is they'll say freedom of speech. Oh, this person said something racist at most or something questionable at minimum on Twitter. Therefore, this person is getting canceled, and then it's like, wait a sec. They'll say, yeah, but what about this person's freedom of speech? And it's like nobody's is trying to take away their First Amendment or First Amendment rights. Like, yeah, they can say whatever they want to say, but if people disagree, then they're gonna get the repercussions.
If they did not have freedom of speech, they would not have put their foot in their fucking mouth in the first place.
Exactly.
Right? Obviously, they felt free to say what they said.
Right. Yeah. And
freedom of speech, not freedom of consequences.
Right. Exactly. And that seems to be lost on them. Or this one is my favorite. They'll say, like, again, conservatives, not all, but a lot of them will say, well, listen, if the owner of a bakery company, if a small bakery is a Christian and they don't want to render services to a gay wedding, they have that right because it's a business, their business, their priorities. That's what they'll say. But then as soon as a business, say Twitter, decides to get rid of Trump, suddenly it's no longer about the business's rights. They say, no, this person is being silenced. This is just censorship. And it's like, wait a second. How can you tell me getting kicked off of Twitter is actually worse than being denied services simply because of your sexual orientation?
Yeah.
It's just bananas.
That's the hypocrisy that made me leave the Republican Party, basically.
Yeah, I could imagine.
Yep. I mean, like the fucking blatant hypocrisy, it just didn't make any fucking sense. Like, this is like, they call me up every year for a donation, and I say, the Republican Party is no longer my party. You're no longer what you used to be when I basically when I was part of your party, and you're not that anymore. So I'm gone. So go fucking fix it.
Right. Well, I've shared this before, I think with you actually, that, I used to be, back in my Christian conservative days, I was part of the Tea Party. And even then, as a Christian and a Republican, I started to see that the Tea Party would say one thing, but then contradict what they're saying. For example, they'd say, we believe in freedom of religion, and religion is everyone's right. And then they would say, the government needs to allow more freedom, but then they wanted to shove religion down the throats of the masses by using the government. And it's like, wait a second, you guys are really contradicting yourselves. And I had to bounce. I was like, I can't support this. And again, I was a Christian at the time, but I still thought, okay, even though I'm a Christian and I believe I have the right views, we should not be imposing those views onto others, especially if we're all about small and limited government and, pro personal liberties. It just completely contradicts what they were doing. Yeah.
The libertarians they did the same kind of thing. Like, okay, I thought I was a libertarian, and then I started hearing other bullshit that just went totally counter to what I thought libertarian meant.
Oh yeah, I've been there too.
What the fuck? It's just like, I don't know. I guess part parties change. The thing is, back in the 60s, the Democrats and Republicans were far more together and close to each other than they are. I mean, by a fucking 1,000 miles than they are. I mean, they've really become like entrenched in different areas of the world.
Yeah, they're still both bought out by corporate interests, but they are more polarized.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I agree with that. Because I don't know how left I am. When I took the political compass test, I was way more left than I realized. Or no, it was the isidewithquiz.com. I was far more left than I thought because I thought I was more center left. But all my answers to these questions revealed that nope, girl, you are pretty gosh darn liberal. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I didn't realize that.
Well, I told this story about dancing on the coffee table, and I did not mention that I was naked. So was that your house, Spooky?
I think it was at Spooky's.
It might have been at Spooky's. Yeah, I forgot that. I kind of left out a few details, but I got canceled nevertheless. God, we were at some parties where people got thrown through doors. I mean, they didn't just throw them out of the house; they actually threw him through the door, through the fucking glass, and he was in a wheelchair.
Oh my God!
Yeah, and basically he was so obnoxious that the homeowner picked him up and threw him through a glass window, and he was laying on the fucking sidewalk. His name was Rodney. And I went out there and tried to help him up, and he took a swing at me. And I said, fuck you, I'm getting in my car and going home. So I tried to help him back into his wheelchair. But I mean, you can imagine how fucking obnoxious he had to be in order to get thrown out of the house.
Oh, yeah. That's pretty bad.
Yeah, he was pretty bad. He'd be in his wheelchair taking swings at people. I mean, he was an asshole before he got paralyzed, and after he got paralyzed, nothing changed. He'd still fucking get into bar fights from his wheelchair.
Wow.
And occasionally win. He was a prick.
It sounds like it.
Yeah, Rodney.
Sounds like an angry prick. I think you've told me about this guy before.
Yeah, my kids grew up with Rodney legends, Rodney stories, right? He was in about 27 car accidents. One of them paralyzed him, but the other ones he was unscathed. Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
He sounds like Wile E. Coyote.
Yep. Kind of
Just
like
keeps
that.
going.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, well, he kept going until he was 48, and he finally, I think he OD'd on fucking Valium or something.
Well, that sucks.
Yeah, but he was on his like 14th life by the time he finally died. We thought he was like the end of his life was the first car accident he had when he was 14.
He's like the Energizer Bunny, just keeps going and going.
Yeah, and the fucker had, he had this charm, like girls would just fall all over him, and he was just so easygoing, but he, like, oh my God, he was just horrible. He ran out on his wife 200 times at least, even after he was paralyzed. And anyway, his first car accident, he was stealing gas with some older dude when he was 14. And it was one of these old cars with these glove boxes that had the Plymouth emblem on them. And we didn't have seatbelts, right? And they crashed into an ore dump running from the police. And Rodney's head hit that glove box and left a fucking dent in it, and imprinted the Plymouth emblem on his face, and broke his nose. And we saw him, in the hospital, and he was like, his face, he looked like a monster. And like, he was a fairly good looking guy, except he had a bump on his nose. After he healed, the only scar he had is the bump was gone. So he was better looking than ever. That's the way this fucker's life went. It's just like, so we hear Rodney was in a car accident. It's like, well, who did he kill? Or basically, we never asked how Rodney was because we knew the fucker came out of it smelling like a rose. Just yeah, amazing.
Rodney sounds like somebody needs to write a book on his life.
My kids have actually asked me to write out all those stories of the adventures of Rodney and the gang. You know,
Sounds like a new series on Netflix. Rodney and the Gang.
yeah. He shot himself in the stomach, and he told me later he did it to find out how it felt.
What?
Shot himself with a 22 in the stomach, and he said it felt like somebody kicked me in the balls. I was like, okay, Rodney, now you know how it feels to shoot yourself in the stomach. Okay, why don't you go out and find out how it feels to hang from a rope? You know, it's like, I'm sure the fucking rope would break and he'd be fine. The rope would lose. You know, it's like, wow.
Oh, this is random, but Lucky Seven Wolfen says that atheists say we came from rock soup.
Yeah.
And I was not aware of this. Y'all are hoarding the knowledge of atheism. I did not realize we came from rock soup.
Yeah, I didn't realize we said that either.
Who knew?
That's why on Mother's Day I always go out and give some kind of a present to the rocks, and I give them a hug.
And a little kiss. Mwah. Good rock. Good Rocky.
Atheists.
Rock soup.
Yeah.
Hey, if that's true, wouldn't that rock? Okay. I'm running on no sleep whatsoever. Well, I slept a few hours, but my God. I cannot stay up all night. My God. And I did that last night, as I shared earlier. I think it was either 5 or 6 o'clock by the time I went to bed.
Yeah. I've been staying up till 1 again, and Snack has been waking me up at 4. And I managed to put him off. Like, I keep tossing him out of the bed for 2 hours, and I sleep till 6. But I've been trying to get 8 hours of sleep a night, which means I got to sleep till 9, Snack. But no, he's like, no, humans got to wake up now, wake up. And then I wake up, and he's got nothing for me, nothing. He's not hungry. He doesn't want anything. He just wants me in bed.
How many pets do you have?
I got 3 cats now.
Oh, 3? I thought you had more for some reason.
Snack, Loki, and Thor. And Loki and Thor want to kill Snack.
They want a snack.
Yeah, they want a snack. Yeah. Snack is a terrorist. He is the fucking most energetic animal I've ever seen in my life. He's worse than a fucking herd of squirrels. Just, wow, he's something else. What's wrong with this cat?
I don't own any cats, but I hear they're very nocturnal animals and up all night.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they'll put up the human sleeping till 4, but then that's it. That's where they draw the line. It's like,
that's it, human. It's enough of that.
Oh, and then when I go to sleep, okay, first of all, Loki's got to come up and do his whole fucking ritual of very slowly jumping up on one side of the bed, crawling over me, and then looking at me until I pet him, and I got to pet him for a while. And then he jumps off, and then Thor jumps up, and then here comes Snack. You know, it's like with 3 cats, I got to go through this petting routine, and sometimes I just want to fucking go to sleep. Jesus Christ. I think I'm a little codependent with my cats. Maybe.
It's funny. A friend of mine just sent me a message that he ran into a mutual friend of ours. And what's funny is I literally just had a dream about that dude, about this mutual friend of ours just last night. And so it's quite the coincidence that he would run into him the same day that I had a dream about him at random.
Yeah. God.
And so I that's what I just texted him and said, that's the Lord.
Yeah, that's everybody has to understand that synchronicity is the low-hanging fruit in the universe. You can reach out and pluck it off anything. If you start paying attention real carefully to the patterns around you, you will find all kinds of these coincidences. And yeah, it's what happens. It's what happens with the universe.
Well, it's kind of like somebody will say, "Yeah, I had a dream about Jimmy, and I have not seen Jimmy in years. And wouldn't you know it, I ran into him the next day at the grocery store."
Yep.
And it's like, that's confirmation bias, because of course you're going to remember dreams that come true or seemingly come true, but you don't remember the countless other dreams that you've had that never had any actual impact in reality. Like how many times did you dream about Steve instead of Jimmy, and that you never saw him the next day or the next week, for that matter?
Yeah,
So,
we went through this.
confirmation bias.
We went through this mystic phase in the 70s, early 70s, where we were following the works of Carlos Castaneda, and all of us would start to really pay attention to things like that, patterns and synchronicity. And my friend Jim had a problem with birds, like a bird crashed into his window, then it crashed into his windshield. Then everywhere he went, these birds would be doing weird things, and he kept noticing birds, and he refused to read any more Carlos Castaneda books after that because it freaked him out. He'd like go out in the yard and be all these blackbirds in his lawn looking at him, like, oh fuck, they're here. It was like, oh, okay, yeah, you just get. So I mean, you could do that, and it's really cool. It's called following a path. Like you go out in the woods and you look around and you look for what appears to be a kind of a path, and you start following it. And oftentimes you are following paths that deer will follow, and you're going the easiest way. So you are following a well-worn path, but you start following these paths and you always find something that's significant to you. I mean, all of the time. And it's just because, yeah, that's what happens. Every time you do that, you will find something significant to you because we are significance machines. That's what we do. That's what our fucking brain does. It finds patterns and shit. You know?
It's the same way when somebody sees a particular number, like 11. Yeah. They'll look at the clock and it says 11:11, and they'll notice that almost every time, and yet they're not remembering every time it said 11:12 or 3:05, 4:08. They just completely don't remember that. And so, but they count the times that they see 11:11 as evidence of something or something that's alluring or something. It's just like, no, it's just what you just described, Speed. It's just we're pattern seeking animals.
I got a cat on my desk right now, and I look up to the left, and oh my God, there's another cat. And then I turn around, and there's another cat. It's almost like I have 3 cats.
That's crazy. It's
crazy. Fucking significant.
Speaking of cats, that guy, Jesus is Lord, he told me the first time I had a stream with him a couple months back, he believes that demons can speak through cats.
Oh my.
Now, to be fair, his logic is consistent because he said, well, God can speak through a donkey, so demons can speak through other animals. And I'm like, yeah, give you points for consistency. But yeah, still bonkers.
Still seems a little arbitrary in his assignment.
Yeah,
for
sure. But Bree had a fun time with that. She was like, what? Demon cats.
Well, you might convince me.
That sounds like a good kids cartoon show. Demon cat.
It does. The demon cat slayer.
My son came up with it on potato. Potato
cats. I don't know. That has potential.
I tried watching kids cartoons about 10, 15 years ago, and I was fucking horrified. It's like, what in the fuck kind of demonic shit is this? It's like they have some really weird cartoons, right?
Well, they're not making them for you.
I know, but they're so fucking weird. And then somebody started talking about this SpongeBob thing, and I'm like, what? Okay, and I checked into it, and it's like, it's pretty weird. It's all very weird.
It is very weird. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like SpongeBob, but yeah, I think that's one reason why I like it is because it is just so weird. Like, for example, it'll show the pirate, in real life, and he's like, all right, today we're going to talk about SpongeBob. And then you see SpongeBob, and he's like, do you ever get the feeling that some pirate is talking about you? And then the show just goes on to do whatever. And I just thought, that's so freaking random. Somebody was on drugs when they wrote that whole show.
I got a feeling that they're all pretty stoned when they wrote it. So
probably.
Okay, I think we're going to end this thing.
Maya says, I thought Gurr would have gotten bored and left by now.
Yeah.
I'm running on fumes, but I'm also still very talkative. I don't know what's wrong with me. I think it's the late night coffee.
Your
that
fumes are just going through your mouth.
Yes, exactly. And I'm waiting for the washing machine to stop so I can throw the clothes in the dryer.
Yeah.
My fumes are running out. Okay, guys, we're going to end this. So,
all right, everybody. It was great having you come by.
Thank all you guys for chatting. And Maya, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, Maya. It's always great to have you here.
No, all I'm going to think about all for the next fucking 3 weeks is you disagree with almost everything I said. And it's like, it's going to kill me. You're going to kill me if you don't figure out what you disagree with and come and tell me. You're going to be responsible for my demise. I mean, what am I going to do? Anyway. Okay. Goodbye, crew world.
Bye.
Bye.